Hello out there, Foxes fans, and welcome back to another edition of the U.S. Foxes podcast, coming to you live as always from various time zones around the United States of America. I, as always, am your host, Matt Folks, joined by my three amazing co-hosts, all four of us here this week, I should say. Tonight, we'll start with the man that's been missing from our little group here, Mr. Jim Harris of the Texas Foxes is back with us. What's up, bro? How was your vacation?
It was good, thanks. Vacation was wonderful. Had a nice time down in Cancun. Did some scuba diving in the cenotes and got to snorkel with a whale shark. So an adventurous time before we went to an all-inclusive and just gorged ourselves silly and drank lots of alcohol and sat by the beach.
Lots of fruity drinks. That sounds amazing. That's great, dude. Congrats on
Thank you very much.
Well-earned vacation, and thank you for joining us back. We certainly missed you and your insights, so we're looking forward to having you back. Also joined this evening, as always, by our man on the East Coast, Mr. Jason Becker of the New York Foxes. What's up, bro?
Hey guys, well, I missed Jim's insight, but I didn't realize until just now how much I missed his sun-kissed face. But at the time of recording, it is still Nigel Pearson's birthday here in the States. So happy holidays to all who celebrate.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. My dog, who's Nigel's namesake, has celebrated appropriately. He's right here under the table with me, so we are celebrating in San Diego, Mr. Pearson's birthday still, aren't we? Mr. Chris Warner, also in San Diego. What's up, bro?
Yes, we are, mate. We're also celebrating, kind of getting through what should we call it, Tropical Storm Hillary yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope everyone in the Southwest got through it safely. But yeah, great to see Jim again. He looks absolutely fantastic. I hope you're able to watch this on video, guys. The guy is glowing, and why not? He's seen Leicester win 4 on the bounce now.
That's right. That's right.
Thanks,
You really do keep us looking handsome.
Thank you. I'm sporting my British tan, which obviously means I've got lots of sunburn. So thanks for pointing that out all, because as they say, only mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday sun. And there I was every day on my lounger, battling it out.
Well, you're a British Texan, so I think you do well. You do better in the sun than most Brits do. I think you
have a red forehead and a red neck at the same time.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So yeah, guys, welcome back to the U.S. Foxes podcast. Another week has gone by, another match. We played Cardiff over the weekend, and the KP was absolutely rocking. The boys continued their march on in the league. We got to see player Aaron Ramsey, who none of us have seen in God knows how many years. He was at Rangers, I think, last. Is that right, Jim? Do you know? Before he ended up back here at Cardiff?
Yeah, I think he had some time at Nice as well, if I remember correctly, via Juventus. So I can't remember which order. I don't track Aaron Ramsey's career
honestly,
as I should.
Yeah, I don't think anyone did, because I honestly had.
I think he was with the Casper. I think he was with Casper last season.
Oh, at Nice, that's cool. That's a pretty cool stat.
It's very nice.
That's why I asked you, because we wouldn't have had this information. But yeah, guys,
I can't guarantee attack there.
Yeah, Cardiff at home. I tell you what, guys, it's the season is at a point right now where we are getting wins in games that I don't think we get wins last year. Not only because we're in a lower level where the finishing is just atrocious, but also because we have a manager now that is just helping to see us through games and kind of have a better attitude than we had last year. We're getting these late wins, and it's quite the change, Chris, from what we were used to being on the opposite end of this so much last season.
Yeah, it feels good to grab a last-minute goal, doesn't it, mate? Normally to put on the other side. No, 4 from 4. I mean, you can't ask for a better start. I think we'll probably go into the performance a little bit more. I'll just say it probably wasn't our greatest. I think even Enzo said that we were below par, I think was the way he described it. So yeah, but a win's a win, Matt. I mean, we're top of the league. And there's only 4 teams, I think, in the whole of the football league that are unbeaten. We're one of them. You can't ask for a better start. We said coming into this season, it was all about getting a quick start, building momentum, and then just keeping that going. And I mean, so far, so good.
Yeah, and exactly, and to your point, like we've got these wins, and they haven't been those kind of, because depending on who you talk to before the start of the season, people either predicted us to win it going away, or they thought that we would struggle. And I think what's been interesting thus far has been the way that we are winning, and that is grinding these wins out. I think if we had just come out right away and just been blowing teams out of the water, obviously that would have been enjoyable as well. But I do think, Jason, that there's something to be said about grinding some of these out against a team, better half of these. We're going to play Rotherham this weekend, but so far we've played teams that did decently last year. I mean, especially obviously when you look at Coventry, and we are finding a way to grind these things out.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the way this season is going to look more often than not. Surely we're still going through, the adjustments to Enzo's new system. He doesn't have all of the players that he wants yet. It still remains to be seen whether or not the squad will look like what he wants it to look like before the end of the window. So we're very, very new into the Enzo era, right? He really hasn't had a lot of time. So it is still encouraging that even when we're not necessarily playing a perfect game, and there are big stretches of letdowns and conceding chances to the opposition, we're still grinding out the wins. I do think that the deep bench that the side has, even with 2 goalkeepers, helps. And a lot of these games are going to come down to the difference of individual quality. And you can see the chances that are being missed against us and the chances that we're creating. And Enzo is also helping his own cause by making the right adjustments in the middle of a game and making good substitutions that actually change a game and impact the game. And that also has been very refreshing to me as well, because how many times last year would we watch a game and think like, oh, this game is begging for Iheanacho to come on, or for Tete to come off. And it just wouldn't happen. And so good on Enzo for, not, insisting on perfection immediately and making the pragmatic choices to go get the results.
Definitely. And when you hear his post-match comments, shout out to OPA, Owen Palmer Atkin, this week. He definitely, you can tell that Enzo is not the easiest man to interview, and OPA has been doing a hell of a job with him thus far. So shout out to Owen. But he made the comment that he thinks the team is only 10% to 20% where he wants them to be. And I mean, man, the fact that we've started out 4 and we're only going 10 to 20% has to make you feel pretty good, Chris, looking at the results.
I think, yeah. I mean, I think the first half especially showed where we want to be. And again, in fits and starts, we were pretty good when we passed the ball quickly and moved it through the lines. I think second half we got a bit stuck. But yeah, I think this team is only going to evolve. Both, I think, if we get any more transfers in, but also I just think the more we can spend time on the training ground with Enzo, the more this team is just going to understand what he wants from them. Because I think at times he's got an idea and he's trying to communicate it across, and maybe at the minute the players aren't necessarily doing what he wants. And I think that's only going to come through kind of developing and building that relationship. So I think, yeah, it's a hell of a start. I mean, just trying to you try and think of some of the previous starts we've had, and I've always thought to myself, like, I think Leicester starting fast has always been the recipe for success. And yeah, I'm the optimism. Let's put it this way: the optimism jar is filling pretty quickly by the day, Matt. That's how it's going at the minute.
I mean, 9 points. We already got 9 points, Jim. And you look at, and we know how this league is, and this league is absolutely it is built on momentum. You can make or break your season on momentum, and I can't get off to a better start than we have, literally, Jimmy. So what are your thoughts thus far on this?
Well, look, I think if you think about 3 league wins in a row, what we've got 9 points out of 9. We can't complain about the results. We can't complain about being second in the league now, and unfortunately on goal difference, but I'll take it, of course. I think the biggest thing for me is just listening to Enzo talk and things like that he's saying already as the manager. He's been here 2 months, and he's saying things like, look, everything we do has a purpose behind it. Like why are we playing Ricardo in the midfield? Oh, because it's this is what they do to make an inverted fullback. No, it's to overload the midfield and allow the midfield our midfielders to push on and press and get the ball back more quickly. And that's part of the why are we playing Ndidi as an 8, because he's good at tackling and he can win the ball higher up. I think when it comes to being on the ball and maybe finishing, yep, he's not there. But you can see that the tactics have got purpose behind them. Everything has a plan, he says as well, and it's kind of really interesting to hear him in the interviews. And I feel like that to me is completely different from the previous manager, who was like, well, even looking at the result, he had at the weekend against Kilmarnock, he should not be named, but oh well, we just didn't have the quality. We've got to do better. This is about, look, we're building. I've got something I want to go do, and I'm going to go do it. And the team is starting to get used to that. I think is what we see, a lot more comfortable. I think we've also, as Jason mentioned, we've got the quality, and the quality has been different each game. So Matavadua with a screamer for his goal. He had a great game. I think Dewsbury Hall grew into the game. I don't think anyone else really stood out for me. You talked about the finishing, and that's probably been the flip side of the coin for me this season. We've won each game, but I feel like if we'd have played like we did, we play really well, but if we'd have played like we have been in the Premier League,
oh dude,
we'd be toast.
100%.
How many team chances,
no wins,
one-on-ones have we given? I can think of a gilt-edged chance every game we've played.
Absolutely. If the finishing is even half of the skill that I'm down here.
Look, I'm not going to complain about. I think that the thing for me is it means we're going to get better. So right. I'm going to take it as we're winning. We're starting to execute the plan. We've had some luck, which has been great. We didn't have any luck last season. Let's ride it. It's better to be lucky than be good, some people say. And then we're positioned really well.
Yeah, I think it's very, very promising, especially with this deep bench that we're going to need with these Saturday, Tuesday bullshit. And then you start throwing in League Cup stuff. Like, the deeper this bench is, I'm fine with it, as it's just keeping the guys, positive and happy in there. Let's dive into the actual match, guys, more specifically. The first major event that I have is Nacho putting one off the post early. Absolute beautiful left foot curler that I think everybody saw going in, and then it just unfortunately hits that post. But good to see him looking dangerous again, Jason, this early off in the year.
Yeah, he was kind of doing everything. He was taking chances at goal, dropping very deep a lot of the time. So League Cup play. It's kind of also what Enzo talked about too. He kind of saw Ricardo going into the midfield. He sees Iheanacho going into the midfield the same exact way, to create that overload and keep the ball. And Iheanacho for the past few years has done that better than anyone on our team. He was it was a beautiful curling shot. He kind of had the defender on skates. Always knew he was going to go back onto his left foot, but the way he just kept shifting, he just had too much for the defender. Could have been easily, a goal of the season candidate. So, big fan of you guys know how much I love Kalichi. I'm all about the senior man, and I really enjoy watching him play, even when he's having a frustrating game, because he's never not involved. It's like so many strikers fall out of games, and we see it all the time. And strikers that have to play on the back shoulder, they'll just get marked out of a game. They'll just get bullied out of a game. And Iheanacho's always involved.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to deal with that midfield presence that he has. Chris, your thoughts on that shot? I mean, Nacho, he just looks a different level up here, down
Yeah,
here.
he does. It's one of those things where you think when he gets his first, he's going to get 5 or 6 really, really quickly. Yeah, I think to Jason's point, I think Iheanacho is definitely one of those guys that you can see the difference. And I think one of the things that I would say is that I think if you look at the chances against us, where some of their centre forwards have missed, I'd feel like if you put Iheanacho in that position, it'd have been 3 from 3. I think the kid's clinical finishing would have scored all 3. So it's going to come. I think he's going to. I think at some point, hopefully this weekend, it will come. But once it does, I expect good stuff from him. I think also it's really nice to see that Enzo, I think, realizes that he's should be the number one option. And I think the weekend only cemented that as well. Like, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but Vardy coming on for that last 15, 20 minutes was great. And I think moving forward, that dynamo, whether it's Iheanacho for 60, 70, and then Vardy, I think is potentially a really good setup for us moving forward.
Yeah, and we've talked for a while about making that work. Like we know that, that he's 36 years old, he's in the twilight of his career, but being that, because that's such a different role, being the guy that comes on at 60 or 70 than what he's used to being for us. So I think it's no surprise that he has maybe not been as effective in that role as we thought he would. The Red Bull Jamie Vardy versus Arsenal comes to mind, but we're in a different league now. So I'm not worried about that, but it is a great sign because, man, did he have an effect, and we'll dive into that. But before we get there, I did want to say, about another guy that has just been literally, I think, the catalyst for us so far, and that's Harry Winks, who starts off that Nacho chance with just a fucking beautiful cross ball across to Marcelo, who then does the rest to get it into Nacho for that chance. But Jim, we'll go to you on Harry Winks and what his role in the team has been thus far, because holy cow, for 10 million, I don't think we could have done much better.
No, yeah, totally. I think I think metronome is the word I think of. He's just giving the ball, recycling, ticking over. But I think the biggest thing I see he's doing is you can see he's kind of directing traffic, and he's becoming the link between the defense and the attack. We know that Vestergaard can carry the ball out fast to a degree, but he'll sort of drop in, pick it up, go get it. Just, simple ball, give it back. And it's like he's the championship Xavi in a way, right? He's kind of just keeping the ball. We keep the ball. He doesn't give it away cheaply. But if he sees something, Matt, to your point, he's not afraid to play it. I think he's had a couple of little glitches defensively where he's maybe tried to do something a little bit and he's lost it. Saturday was in evidence, but overall, I think he's been a fantastic signing, and I'm really excited. I think it's given him a fresh lease of life. I think what we've all been talking about, he's another leader on the pitch, and I think we're seeing now a leader we've got Fass, who's kind of starting to grow a bit to becoming a leader at the back. We've got Winks and Dewsbury Hall now, who are sort of leaders. We know Wilf's been captain. And then we've got, I think Senior Man is kind of showing he's a sort of leader by the way he's played as well. But I just want to go back to Kelechi. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to talk about. I think we all got showed pod, right? Maybe we rename it to US Kelechi Pod. But I think it was the most Nacho game of all. It was everything that you get from a Kelechi and Nacho. It was first half. I think he was really fantastic. The shot, I think it's his trademark move now, right? Little jiggle, shift, go. And if you know what he's going to do, he still does it and bends it round. But then I think it was the other bit for me where he picked up the ball in our half on the touch line, and the Cardiff player came in and he just sort of shrugged them off and then carried the ball and progressed it sort of 15, 20 yards and then played a pass, I think I think it was to Ndidi to kind of just get him through. Played another nice through ball to Marcel as well to run onto. And I think that's what he adds. And I think as we see, maybe when we'll talk about this, I'll do it, Chris, as we talk about this in the future, but like, you know, Cesare potentially being the other 8 who's providing a bit more of a box presence. I think that will make Iheanacho even more like a fulcrum for the attacks, because we'll have people bombing on beyond him. I think at the moment, indeed, it's not natural to Wilf. So he does it, but then he's like, oh, what am I doing? So yeah, I think it's super exciting to see, you know, again, back to the sort of presence and so forth. And then, as you know, you talked about Vardy coming on later, where actually we've kind of like been jabbing at the opposition for ages, right? They're getting tired and they're pressing onto us, and it's creating space behind. So that's fun.
Yeah, it makes sense. And yeah, dude, you're exactly right. And as we're, you know, when some eyebrows were raised when Enzo said he wasn't going to have a single captain all year. I know some people hate that and they want one guy, but I think it's just it's a wealth of riches as far as guys with experience, guys with, you know, passion. Like, I think Enzo looks around that locker room right now and he's like, yeah, there are 6 captains on this team, and holy shit, what a good position to be in, Jason. You know, with Winksy and Notch. I mean, God, go down the list of guys that could wear that armband and none of us would question it.
Yeah, it just seems like the culture is really changing, which a lot of us have been crying out for so long, and what Brendan tried to pretend he was referring to when he wanted a squad refresh. But it was clear that, you know, I don't want to say it's clear. I am speculating, but it does kind of seem like Rodgers had his like pets, and those are his guys. Whereas Enzo, like, I don't think Enzo's afraid of big personalities. And I don't think Enzo gets intimidated by strong players and characters, and feels like I don't think he's got any insecurities here. So he's allowing these players to bring their best selves and bring the things that you know may challenge other managers to the training ground each day. And he's called out Albrighton, he's called out Vardy for the way that they behave, not well in a positive way, right? He's commending them for their leadership that they're showing during training, that they're showing during the game, the examples that they're setting for younger players. It's going to really help a lot of our young guys grow. Connor Cody also. I mean, last year we had a captain that was injured most of the season and was almost like nowhere to be found. Didn't hear from him really at all until the end of the year when he was starting to get fit again. And that was it. He was completely baffled about why we were relegated, maybe because he wasn't that involved. And look at Cody. He's traveling with the team. He's a very present figure in everything that's going on. You see him, you hear from him, his teammates see from him. And I think this is the kind of this is what we wanted, right? This is what we want to see. Like, even if the football is not like so exciting, this is the kind of stuff that I think gets fans going, and you know, makes us know that the 11 guys on the pitch aren't going to be the only ones fighting. That everyone behind the scenes is on the same page, is trying to get this team back into the Premier League.
Jason, to your point on like he doesn't have favorites, like clearly like Rodgers did. But we see he's being kind of leaving people out. But I feel like it's a bit like Guardiola did. I know it's in an easy comparison, right? But you just don't fit what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to kind of leave you out for that reason and move you on. I think there's probably a bit of attitude play, but then it's kind of clear that you're not even on the bench, you're not making it near the squad. You're going to go. I know there's kind of question marks about like why isn't Suter playing, for example. But, you know, he's probably the main one that's sort of maybe being left out, that people are questioning, that it's puzzling why he's not even making it as part of the squad. Whereas, yeah, we know Castane's probably wanting to go. We know some of the other ones. Maybe Daka is maybe the other one as well. But I think it's more against his plan of why people are not making the squad and the team, not necessarily like Rogers. I just don't like the way that you looked at me in the canteen or whatever. Can't hear you, Matt.
Oh, I think we lost Matt.
Sorry about that. Yeah, definitely. Something that's a difference though between Brendan and Enzo.
We had to censor Matt out just there.
Yes, exactly.
But don't criticize Brendan to Matt. He gets angry. No, I'm kidding.
You all know how.
There's only two people that you can't criticize to Matt: Brendan Rodgers and Danny Ward.
That's exactly right. Moving on ahead, guys. Wanya Marsal's goal. He scores his first goal for the club. Holy shit, what a screamer. And just proof that good things happen when you just shoot. The guy just let the cannon rip and the thing finds the top corner. What a way to score your first one, Chris, for the club.
Yeah, hell of a finish. Keep your head down, as they say in those situations. And he absolutely rifled it in. Yeah, I mean, not much else to say. 1-0 and fully deserved, I think, based on that first part of the game. I thought we knocked it, just as an overall thing, I thought we knocked it around really quickly. And to Jim's point, I think really decisively as well. And that's the key. And I think if we can play with Winks and Vestergaard through the middle, setting the ball, setting up those transitions, and I think we're pretty untouchable at times. But yeah, hell of a finish, great celebration. Like, you could tell it meant so much to the lad, which was like so refreshing. I mean, we've wanted passion and we've wanted the players to give a shit all last year, and we never got that. And in the first 4 games of the season now, we've seen goals and we've seen just people excited to put the Leicester shirt back on again. And that's all I can ask for as a Leicester fan, is just to be proud, wear the shirt with a bit of pride, and just go out there and just try your best. And it was great to see that was coming through from the players when he scored and when they scored.
Well, I think you talk about passion. I mean, it's just the player. I mean, you're talking about a kid that has grown up in this club and in this academy versus, last year, some of the, for lack of a better word, mercenaries or sellswords, whatever the hell we had going on with the guys that we just shoved into the team at the last minute because we needed to make some sort of move in the transfer market. And it's easy to see how much it meant to the kid, and an academy kid scoring a goal like that, Jason, that's stuff of dreams.
Yeah, and that's what I think we want to keep seeing as fans. We want to see these young kids come up through the ranks. We want to root for them because we know how much this means to them. You could see how much it meant to Wanya. And and he was absolutely buzzing about it. And it was a great strike. Like, what a way to open up your account, right? For your club, for your first senior goal there. And it was a special moment. And I think that it really wasn't lost on everyone around. I think all of his teammates know that, like, he's been put into a tough spot. Enzo has been pretty straightforward about it. He says, like, look, I'm not going to rely on him all season. We do need to bring in another player there, but good on him for giving the kid a chance, for making his role clear. And I think that probably also has taken some of the pressure off of him as well. So really, looks from the outside, looks like really great man management, and just a great way to build his confidence when he's going through, like, and suddenly playing in championship games.
Yeah. And it's exactly to your point, like, when you have your manager saying publicly, like, I would like another right wing, and to just be like, wait a minute, and to put that little hesitation into Enzo's brain when you score a goal like that, that's got to be great for him.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily changing Enzo's plans, right? Enzo seems like he's pretty set, but I think what he's doing is not, like, telling the kid, like, well, we're SOL, it's going to be up to you, and you're going to have to save us and get us promoted. It's like, hey, you know what? Get into the side, try to make something happen. This is how we're setting it up to play. Do these things, you'll get your opportunities as the season goes on, but I don't want you to feel like this is all on you and that you have to take on too much. Whereas a lot of times some other managers might publicly say that a player is not, their top choice in the position, but they're kind of slating them and ruining their confidence. But it seems like Enzo's kind of been able to do the opposite with the way that he's speaking about Wanya. And I think it's really going to help his development.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Chris, let me ask you about another player that we saw on Saturday who had started off the season great, but in my opinion struggled. KDH kind of a blip of a game thus far this season. He just seemed like he wasn't what he has been thus far going forward. You agree with that?
Yeah, I think we were watching the game in the pub together, weren't we? And I think we have an expectation of KDH based on the first three performances of expecting it always to be up here. But we have to be honest, at some point, you are going to get a little bit of reversion back to maybe more of where he should be in terms of his performances. Yeah, look, he didn't have a great game. I think, in my opinion anyway, I thought he was getting into the right positions, which was super important. And I mean, arguably, you can say that he was the catalyst for the winner. I mean, his aggression and desire to kind of just push past the Cardiff player enabled us to set that up for Vardy and etc. But yeah, I thought just from his passing was a little bit kind of just misplaced and a little bit not necessarily kind of as sharp as I'd like to see from him. But I think as moving forward, he is the sort of guy though that I think him in that 8 position, he's just going to continue to grow and build. And I think I just want to touch back on the conversation just a minute ago. I think another thing that I think Enzo's liking about the fact that we have these the wingers in now as well is we're playing so wide. And if you look at the way that we're playing now, you can see that both of our wingers are really hogging that touchline, and we're just spreading the game out, which I think is, compared to last season when everything just seemed so compact, and that was just basically with Maddison playing him out there. He just wanted to keep coming inside. It's really refreshing to see that when we're playing wide, we just give that space and we have that opportunity there. So I think adding to that, I think that's been a great revelation as well with having these new lads in.
Definitely. And yeah, I'm with you on KDH as well. As I think that it's just those games are going to happen. He did spend a lot of time on the ground, but I also think you're being pretty nice saying he was the catalyst for that for the winner, because that was a pretty terrible shot. You could say it was a pass, but yeah,
it was a pass, Matt. You want a shot?
Oh, okay, sure. Well, we can dive back into that. Anything you guys, Jason or Jim, you got anything you want to say on KDH?
I think that was quite harsh on him. I think it was the most inconsistent performance he had. I think his first half, when we were playing well, he wasn't really playing well. But I think the last 15, 20 minutes, he was maybe not the catalyst, but he provided a lot of energy and he kept going. And I think it was probably the worst performance he's had defensively for us. And I think we're used to seeing him, get involved a bit more, and he was getting a bit pushed off the ball and maybe trying a bit too much, but he created some dangerous passes and kept going. So I don't think he was poor. I think like first 25, 30 minutes, he wasn't up to what we think. So
yeah, poor is not the word.
I know, we on this pod, we all have slightly different things that we see.
Yeah, poor is maybe not the word. Off, I think, is more the word I'm looking, because it was just more of an off game for him, in my opinion. Aaron Ramsey's goal happens, guys, right before the half. I just sent a shrug emoji in the chat. Like, if that's how they have to score their goals, what else can you fucking say? Absolute worldy, and I guess he could say indeed he could have closed down more, but that's just. Yeah, Rob Tanner said he's the only player in the league that could score that kind of a goal. So I guess if you're gonna have that's just gonna happen down here.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great shot. It was, and you gotta kind of tip your bucket hat to them. If anyone is actually not watching, I am wearing the Union FS bucket today, but You got to see out a half, right? You can't kind of lose focus there. And I think Enzo wasn't all in all, it was a good half of football. I think from us, it was just a little disappointing to give up a goal like that. And I think it took us some time to kind of get back into the game after that happened, because Cardiff really had the kind of it really lifted Cardiff. I mean, it was a hell of a goal, and it should, right? If one of your teammates scored a goal like that, I mean, you'd be buzzing and trying to make that a goal that contributed towards a win, because it's a goal that certainly deserved to be part of a win.
Definitely. And I think that's going to be a recurring thing for Cardiff this year, because the quality around him is just not there. And I think he's going to be struggling with that, in my opinion.
I thought and I kind of mentioned him last week, I thought we'd see a little bit more dynamism out of Bowler. And he looked like another championship player to me.
A little flat, yeah. Nothing Mads Hermansen, our wonderful Danish goalkeeper, could have done about that one. No goalie in the world could stop that one. But other than that, I'll use this opportunity to say that Mads was great. It was awesome to have him back. Made all the stops that he needed to save, and his distribution looked really good to me, Jimmy.
Yeah, it was just nice to have calming presence at the back, and he came out a couple of times, did his sweeper keeper job. I think the other thing I liked about him, he kind of tried to create some quick attacks too, so that he was throwing the ball out a couple of times, threw it long, and it's nice to just not see the goalkeeper kick the ball into the touchline for a throw in.
Isn't that great?
Do you think those people in the KP are slightly disappointed on like the first and second row of the East Stand that are no longer getting the ball?
No, I think they're probably less paying less attention now, because last year at any moment they could have been clocked in the head by a size 5. So they might be on their phone a little bit more.
Maybe that's what we do with Everson and Ward. We just ship them over to the Tigers because they're pretty good at
getting into touch. Yeah, great point.
Well, people need to get used to how he plays out of the back. And I heard, plenty of folks telling me and some other posts I read on social media about people moaning about the speed of the build up and play it forward and all that stuff. And it's just like, look, the game has passed you by. Like, it's just not going to be like that anymore. And it's not the way football is really played almost on any level.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why we're doing that. And sometimes you have to kind of adjust your expectations for what you're going out to see, and also decide what you're looking to get out of a game. Are you there to kind of cheer the guys on and improve the atmosphere, or just there to watch some old-fashioned football?
I'll say, Matt, I think our nerves are slightly getting better. Do you remember that moment in the first half when Mads is playing sweeper keeper and he takes a throw in about 3/4 inside our own half and he gets the ball? I think both of us, our hearts dropped, but we're getting there. I think we'll slowly learn to love the concept of the sweeper keeper, but holy hell.
I think honestly it's going to be, once we get solidified back there, once we figure out who is Justin involved, is Cody involved. But right now, until September 1st, guys, which can't come fucking soon enough, until that day comes and we know who's on this team and who we can build on and go forward, I think, we're going to have those heart in our throat moments going forward.
I love it. I think it's amazing that we've got a proper footballing 11.
Yeah. And go ahead, Jason.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say, I think in past windows, we've had a lot of anxiety about what the team is going to look like, because there are clearly players that we wanted to hold on to that we were unable to hold on to. Fofana, one of them last season. It's happened before. But I think this year we kind of knew who was going to get sold, and Enzo's made it very clear, I think, of who we want to keep and who we don't want to keep. We're not hearing a whole lot of buzz about the players that have been in the starting 11. So to me, that implies that there is an understanding, not only between Enzo and the players, but between other clubs and Leicester City Football Club about who's for sale, who's not for sale. And then we have all of the other players that are not making it to the matchday squad that, we are looking to move on. Now we're going to have to get some business done quickly and we have a decent number of players still to shift. But I just don't have. Maybe it's all the wins, but I don't have that same feeling of anxiety that maybe I've had in past windows.
Yeah.
No, of course, now I just jinxed it. Now someone's going to come in with a $35 million pound bid for Kelechi Iheanacho
and Pereira.
Well, I just don't see that. I honestly don't. I think that Maresca would hold on to him with Claude, but if somebody comes in for 35, fuck, what do you do at that point?
He's got a year left on his contract, so I don't think it'll be that high. I think, there's a lot of talk on various forums about, well, let's get rid of him and bring in Pirro because he's got a year left on his contract. He scored a couple of goals, but I think just with the way that we play, I think Iheanacho, as you said, Jason, is sort of built for this team, and now we've got sort of another piece in the puzzle with sort of an attacking, goal-scoring threat midfielder that's coming in. Like, I feel like really now it's sort of can we just get this sort of shaky defense that just gets split in two with one pass? Can we cut that bit out? And I think we've kind of got the team. I think we're going to have like supplemental squad. Marcel, maybe he's not going to be, I don't think he's a 46 game right winger. So we need cover on that. But Mark's.
Well, I think now we're 42 minutes in, and it's about time we talk about the player the episode was named after.
We've only mentioned him like 5 times, and then we keep holding ourselves back.
Well, I know. I think that, but before we do that, I did want to just shout out Callum Doyle, who I thought again had an immense game. The kid seems to be in their box more than ours, which is interesting as a defender. But he's just constantly in areas that we need him to be, and I can also see him and Mavididi have got something going on. They're looking better every single match, and that link up on that left side, it was like 90% of the first half, in my opinion. That's where we seem to be going from. And Callum, he's looking really special, Jason.
Yeah, and there was a great play. Mavididi tore up the left side, cut in right foot, and it was the keeper made a great save. He was unlucky not to score there, and I think that would have completely changed the game for him. He did have some difficulties. The end product wasn't there for Mavididi, but he keeps trying, and that does look like it's growing into to be a pretty lethal partnership up there on the left side.
Chris, anything you want to touch about young Callum? I just think thus far he's just looked so good. I mean, when was the last time we had a defender that offensively minded?
Well, that, and I think especially in that game on Saturday. We, as Jim said, we had troubles at the back, but fundamentally those troubles were focused on the center and the right position. They weren't focused on that left-hand side. I thought we were pretty strong down that left-hand side all game. I think that's going to be the key, is getting that balance. Like, Faust is going to have an absolute solid game every single week to really enable us to kind of be a strong unit back there. Because if he's not having a great game, then Vestergaard's going to start to come across and trying to cover for that. We know some of Vestergaard's problems at times as well. And then all of a sudden it just snowballs and the kid just walks through them both. So, yeah, I think Doyle being solid, both defensively, but like you said, Matt, in that attacking third is going to be crucial for us to continue this momentum.
Definitely. And still holds at the back. Obviously, we talked about how if the finishing was better in this league, we would not be sitting where we are. So I don't think that there's any argument that we've got holes to fill, but you can't help but be optimistic when you have glaring holes like that. And we still got 4 out of 4 of the results. So let's talk about the man that the episode is named after. Man, the Italian Job. He just comes in. What minute was that? 60th minute did he come in?
It was a little later, right?
A little later, around the 70th. Okay.
I could be wrong though.
But the play, the first of all, the kid is huge. I think that's the thing that has caught me off guard the most, is just how tall this dude is. And he's just a presence out there on the field. He's not one of these small midfielders that disappears. The guy is very big. The play comes in, and as we said earlier, if you want to call it a pass, but a terrible shot by KDH, gets bounced around. There's a penalty shout for Vardy, who gets into the position. In my opinion, looked like a penalty to me. Everybody else, are we all in agreement on that? Legs swiped out from underneath him.
I think so.
I think everybody thought that apart from the referee. It was like, get up. The referee is Skeletor.
And Matt, I've got to just mention that you were 100% wrong, and I was 100% right about when he was subbed in. He was subbed in a little later than the 60th minute. In fact, it was the 61st minute.
Okay.
No, but you spot on there. I completely remembered the game totally differently than what actually happened. Well done,
exactly right. That's exactly right. But yeah, what do you say about a kid? He arrives late in the box just as Enzo had been advertising him, and he pounds it away, runs off to SK1 and just does the freaking bow celebration, which we haven't seen since the last great Italian at our club, Esteban Cambiaso. Holy shit.
He's Argentinian.
Argentinian, sorry, yeah. Well, the last guy from Inter Milan, I should say. Sorry,
yeah.
But we haven't seen that since Cambiaso, and what a way to introduce yourself to the side. Chris, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think I agree with LCFC.com by giving him man of the match, but at the same time, it was. I mean, absolute limbs in the crowd. It was just great. Everyone went nuts. Yeah, it's a hell of a finish. I think that's one thing that you take away from it. I mean, it's all chaos 7 yards out. The ball comes across to him and he rifles it into the top of the net, giving the keeper no chance. I think one thing that was on our side at that point, because I think even the keeper thought it was a penalty.
Oh,
and he
yeah.
I think everybody just stopped and expected the whistle to be blown. And fair play to him. Like Cesare continue, like you say, you play through the whistle, and the kid did, and great finish. But yeah, I mean, like you said, Matt, it brought back those Everton Nacho vibes from a few years ago in the Premier League when it's that last minute winner.
Without VAR, it's way better.
Well, that's the other thing as well. You could just start going nuts and not have to worry about it. So no, great finish. To be honest, and maybe the lads will disagree, when he came on, he did little bits, but he wasn't exactly kind of changing it too much. And I'm excited just to see him moving forward, kind of what he's going to bring. I think one thing that he did do was he naturally got into the box. Yeah. And I think that's something that we've been missing in these forward 8 positions. Like, you're going to get Ndidi, who's able to press the ball. You're going to get KDH, who's going to be able to play the pass. But both of them, I think Enzo's even said, he has to keep encouraging them to get into the area. I think with Cesare, you're not going to have that problem. The kid is naturally just going to want to get into the area. Like you said, Matt, come in late. I think we'll see a lot of headed goals from the lad, because I'm with you. He is absolutely ginormous. Like, I didn't realize he was that big. So, no, excited for him moving forward. I think he'll probably start Saturday. I think he should start Saturday. And yeah, let it begin.
So, he definitely, when he came on, you could see that he wants to be positive on the ball, and he wants to get the ball forward and make things happen. I was actually a little I thought there'd be more limbs behind the goal. The cop did seem pretty sleepy for a lot of the game. And I was actually, frankly, I was surprised when someone scores in the 91st minute that it wasn't just like complete bedlam. But it's easy for me to say many thousands of miles away. But come on, like, tell me you didn't see shades of Andy King when you put that in. Yeah. It just felt like such a King goal. And, you know, we know what he did for us when we were in the second division, and how big so many of his goals were. And I don't know. I felt like a sense of deja vu when he scored there, because it did feel like the type of goal that Andy King would have like gotten into the box and scored for us.
I
Yeah,
love that.
so
That's a good shout. Go ahead,
So
Jimmy.
both of you have like just looked like you've read my notes. So I think Chris, as I disagreed with you on KDH, but I totally agree with you on Cesare in terms of he was tidy. He didn't do much. I think it was just like, hey, I'm getting on in the 60th minute. I've already had much 61st. Had much training time. You know, I'm getting to know. So I'm just going to give it simple and just. He looked for it though. Every time he was calling for it, and he didn't get the ball, but kind of quiet. And then Jason, to your point, it's almost like he didn't do anything. And then as he was in the box, he came alive for that goal, and it kind of showed what he was all about. And it was totally Andy King, young Andy King, you know, that young Andy King that could have been the next Frank Lampard type thing, right? Where it's like, what does he do really for 90 minutes? Oh, he just scores goals. I don't care what else he does. If he scores us goals, that's what I want. Also, he's like 6'1", but he looks like he's about 6'6", as you guys said as well. Maybe it's his haircut that just starts right at the top of his head with that sort of weird mullet Italian haircut that Italian brethren have, and I could never get away with. But yeah, I totally spot on. Like, I think everyone was asleep for the goal, including everybody. Cardiff players, maybe even our fans, you know, they were like, oh, it's penalty. Are we all waiting for VAR to be called? Because it's kind of been like spoon, you know, drip fed into us the last few seasons now. So, but scenes around the US, I'm sure.
Yeah, we were definitely going absolutely wild at Football Factory when that went in. And the fact that he was the only player kind of ready for that, I think says a lot about him. Listening to his post-match interviews, he really comes across as like very mature for his age, and he's very thoughtful about what he's trying to do and how he's not trying to get too far ahead of himself, how he wants his play to do the talking, and like and any opportunity that, you know, an interviewer had to kind of bait him a little bit into looking too far ahead, he wouldn't take it. And when he was also asked about, you know, whether he thought it was a penalty or not, like he said he didn't realize he was focused on what he was doing and what he had to do in that situation. And yeah, you know, it's still very early, but you know, it was I think all in all a very positive sub appearance, especially for a brand new player of his age. And you kind of see, you know, what Enzo sees in him. And Chris, you talked about it, how he doesn't need to be told to get into the box. And we needed a goal. And when you need a goal at the end of the game, you've got one striker out there on the pitch. You need your midfielders to get into the box. And that's exactly what he did.
And I want to give honorable mention to Jamie Vardy for that goal, because as we talked about earlier, that was that kind of cross shot thing from KDH. But Vardy took it. And I think this was the sharpest I've seen Vardy for a long time. Yeah. Talked earlier about, hey, the 60th minute, 65th minute, coming on to a tired defense where we've ground them down by keeping the ball deliberately. And then a couple of things he did. First of all, you know, great play, you know, kind of did a little touch, kind of dragging it away from the defender, keeping himself between the ball and the defender as well, thinking he was going to get a shot away, and it was only because he was cleaned out. He didn't. But there was another time where he made that break as well, and he ran and then held it. And I think he could have probably given the pass, maybe made a better decision on the pass, and he overhit it to Dewsbury Hall, actually, I think, out on the left, and it could have maybe gone right if I remember correctly. But I think just that showing he's the right person. He's got like that 25-minute burst, or 35 minutes now with all the added time that we have. But he was hungry, and then the shit housing at the end, he was the leader of it. You know, him and Mavididi running it into the corner, you know, then Albrighton joining in and just kind of like right in front of our fans, just sort of keeping the ball for the last 3 to 4 minutes. And again, it's just, you know, just showing the Vardy that, you know, I think he got cleaned out and he kind of bounced back up, didn't he? And sort of looked at the Cardiff player that cleaned him out and like, whatever, I don't care because we're winning now and screw you. And that's I imagine like a Vardy last season would have rolled on the ground and maybe sulked a bit. And it's good to see that he's getting his like swagger back.
Yeah,
absolutely. And the first sub to come on and score a debut goal since that goal, Nathan Dyer scored the knockout goal, and he was fucking fucking knocked out by Brad Gazan. Remember that shit? Oh my goodness gracious, what a goal!
It's been
But
that long since a sub came out on his debut
yes,
and scored a
on
goal.
his debut and scored.
Wow.
Nathan Dyer. Yep.
It's almost
And
been
That's
that long
crazy.
two
since
huge goals.
Yeah.
And Nathan probably would have celebrated the same way had he not been knocked the fuck out on the ground, seeing birds fly around his head. So
Yeah, I think he said he had no idea that he actually scored the goal.
Literally, yeah.
Until after.
yeah. Shout out Nathan Dyer.
Oh,
Yeah, okay, guys. We'll wrap it up here. Romeo red card to end the game. That was just about fucking perfect. He knees KDH in the back, just dirty as shit. And shout out to the referee for having his eye on him. I think he knew that play was coming, because that was dirty and just a perfect way for them to end. So yeah, what a way to say goodbye to Cardiff for a while. Good win, guys. 3 more points, and let's keep it going. Next week against Rotherham, and an away match at New York Stadium. I tried to look up why it's called New York Stadium. It turns out that the land that it was built on was just called New York, so they call it New York. So sorry, Jace, there's nothing more fun than that to dive in on. Is why they're called New York Stadium, New York Stadium. Yeah. Anything you want to touch on that before we talk about their results?
Nah.
Yeah. Okay. So Rotherham winless in the league thus far. They also picked up 2 red cards. So interesting there. They've got a bit of an issue with discipline, it looks like. And as a team that we've already been frustrating, we play a style of football that's frustrating to teams if they can't break it down. So that will be something to watch to see if we can get into their heads that way. I did find this was fun. The last time we played them, 2011. Okay, it was a 4-1 win in the League Cup, and the only goal that they scored was a Matt Mills own goal from us, and that's a name that I'll bet you guys haven't thought about in a long time. Oh, Matty Mills, Chris.
That's a long. What's that? 12 years ago now.
Yeah. Listen to the lineup. Listen to the
Still-
lineup, guys. What's that?
I was going to say still too recent for Nigel Pearson.
I was going to say, yeah, my and I think Jim's got a great memory as well. My memory of Rotherham was so when they were building this stadium on New York ground. They played at Sheffield Don Valley Stadium, which is like an athletics track. And I was a student in Sheffield. We were playing a League Cup game on a Wednesday night. And we went to the game, and it was foggy as hell. And for 90 minutes, I was on the back row, couldn't see a single lick of the game. Did not see 1 minute of the game. It was that foggy. The mist was that low. I think we lost 1-0, so I don't think I missed much. But I'm excited for Saturday to actually watch a Rotherham game. But Jim, I think you've got some stories about Rotherham as well.
I have. So like you, Chris, I lived in Sheffield for a long time as well. And so I actually played football in the Rotherham League. And I was party to the fastest sending off I've ever seen in the history of football, where actually the manager came on as a defender, slid tackled someone, took them 2-footed, took them both out. They landed on top of him. He took affront to the fact that they landed on top of him after he fouled them. So he rolled over and then started punching them in the face.
Perfect.
And so that was my experience of playing Sunday League in Rotherham, everybody. So it was a good fun. It was also his first game back after he dislocated his shoulder. So I can see why.
Well, that's I like the violent story there, because Matt Mills was just brought up and mentioned, and his for his own goal at Rotherham, and probably one of his best moments as a Leicester player was getting headbutted by Nigel Pearson, apparently.
Oh, that was a rough one. Yeah, let me read you the rest of this lineup though from then. First of all, Jeff Schlupp, Paul Gallagher scored the first one in 36, and then Jeff Schlupp had a hat trick. So shout out to Jeffy.
Was that when we were playing Jeff as like a forward?
Yes.
Was that one of his first ever games?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And it was like literally one of his first games for us. And yeah, he had not moved into the back
Remember it
yet.
now.
But Schmeichel was in goal then, so that's got to be one of his first as well, because 2011 is when he came over from Leeds. Paul Konchesky, Matt Mills. Here's one for you, Michael Ball. I think that's a guy we don't like to forget. Played for us. Jeff Schlupp, obviously. Lloyd Dyer also in that side. Michael Johnson in that side.
Michael Johnson. Wow. One of the 4 games he managed to play before he ate all the pies.
And also Michael Johnson, Michael Ball, and Matt Mills all look exactly alike to me. So I think that they literally could be the same person. Frank Most, Matt Oakley, Paul Gallagher, and Martin Waghorn round out that side. The Martin Waghorn. That's when Waggy was starting over both Harry Kane and Jamie Vardy at striker. So it's a fun time.
It's a proper hard Brexit lineup.
Hard Brexit lineup. So yeah, guys, interesting match. 7 a.m. 7 a.m. on Saturday if you're on the West Coast. 10 a.m. for our East Coast friends, and what is it in Texas, Jim?
9 a.m. in Central Time for those of us in the middle.
9 a.m. in Central Time.
And then Mountain Time will be 8 a.m.
For sure.
And I can't go any further, like with people if you're in Indiana,
for our Denver Foxes. Chris, I did forget. We have our summary from our in-stadium correspondent, Mr. Ollie McLean. If you want to get that ready, we can play that. I totally skipped over that for his Cardiff experience this week. We definitely wanted to get that in. So go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hey Matt, hey US Foxes, hope all is well. Hope you all enjoyed that 2-1 win over Cardiff. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't pretty, it wasn't sexy, but it doesn't have to be when you get the 3 points in the end, and that's what we did. I'm going to come out the blocks and say early on that my man of the match was Yannick Vestergaard, because nobody was stand out, to be honest, but Vestergaard, he did his job. And he didn't lose possession all that much, and he probably, I might be wrong, but I haven't looked back on the game, but he probably was the most consistent player on the pitch for the 90 minutes. But yeah, nobody was perfect today, but like I said, it doesn't matter when you get the 3 points at the end of the day. Buzzing to see Cesare get on that score sheet. It doesn't matter how sloppy the goal was. A goal's a goal. I'm pretty sure it should have been a penalty anyway if he didn't put it in the roof of the net. But yeah, history makers. This Enzo side would being first ever time we've won 4 games in a row at the start of the season. So yeah, absolutely buzzing with that. Yeah, I'm even more excited for the following game next week against Rotherham. Cannot wait for the season, man. I've been saying it to everyone that I've been talking to that I'm just so excited for every single game, and it's such a nice feeling to look forward to the games, to be excited to come to the game, not just think, oh, here we go, here's another week. Are we going to win? Are we going to not? But we're feeling good. The feeling around the ground is just brilliant at the minute, and it's so refreshing. I love this at the minute, and I'm fucking loving the Championship. So keep us here for all I care, but we are going straight back up. Yeah, unbelievable day. Can't wait for Rotherham, and thank you very much. That's all I've got to say, really, to be honest with you. Let's, as always, keep that faith, follow the Foxes up the fucking city.
What an absolute legend. Thank you to Ollie, as always, for that. And yeah, Yannick Vestergaard is man of the match, Jason.
I think that Yannick Vestergaard looked at himself in the mirror before this season and made a personal vow to himself to redeem himself to Ollie McLean.
I think we didn't get the IPA review, but maybe with that man of the match call, Ollie maybe had all of them.
I think he had all of them, yeah. So I'll have to remind him of that we were promised. So
hey, I don't blame him. If I were him and someone was making me drink an IPA, I would stall for as many weeks as possible.
Same
would
here.
like to
And
know what kind of flavor profiles the IPA has, and then if no one tells me, I'll be very upset. As Jason knows.
Potpourri.
potpourri. Oh man. I understand. One last thing. Jim wanted to talk about Fox's Hub this evening. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I just wanted to get everyone's experience of Fox's Hub and having to dick around with that, plugging in HDMI cables into their laptops so they can get it on the TV, because apparently casting is some sort of illegal maneuver, and building an app is even more complicated. But I think overall, apart from my color scheme, which seemingly didn't happen to anyone else, going into the negative quite often, it was pretty good. And the highlight for me was the adverts or commercials being peak King Power.
Perfect.
Especially the first one right off the bat at halftime with the I don't know what was happening, but it was amazing, and I want to see that every week.
I think
Me too.
Yeah, as a longtime Leicester fan who went through the Foxes player days and all of that, I don't know that my hopes were very high for everything to just work on the first day on time, and it worked.
It did.
It worked, and
Yeah.
the quality was decent. On my end, it worked, and I'm very happy. Like I gotta give my kudos to the club because it worked, and I know there were other clubs like Borough and some others who could not get their streams up in time for the game. So well done, Leicester City Football Club, and all those involved behind the scenes.
All I can say is if you're using your personal laptop for it, and it's the only thing you kind of use your laptop for each week, make sure that you've checked for updates before and it's not trying to reboot. That did not happen to me, but I know I think we all know that from work PCs and laptops. They like to give you an update at the most inconvenient moment. So scrambling around first thing in the morning is not ideal for that.
Yeah, I'll echo Jason's point. Like, it blew me away. Multiple angles, replays. I was like, what is this? I expected circa 2001 championship where it was one guy with a handheld camera on the gantry. So no, great job. And hell, we even had Jerry Taggart giving us a little bit of halftime.
Jerry and Maddie.
Jerry and Maddie, yeah.
It was also
Manny Wyatt as well.
It was also a professional commentator that had come in to
yeah, he said that.
he
said he'd come on the train.
Not like the dude that just works for Leicester who's calling it, chatting away to Nugent that we had in preseason.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I gotta say, because I was so sure, setting it up. I'm like, something is going to be. And the casting thing, what's crazy about the casting thing is there's a casting button. Like after they told us that there would be absolutely no casting allowed, there's still a casting button down at the bottom right. So I didn't dare click it for fear of my laptop exploding. But
Cool.
that's there. So there's questions.
I guess if anyone has had success casting, just send it to the DMs. Don't
send it to the DMs.
Don't make it public.
I think we all had fun in the week, didn't we, in our group chat, with people downloading and highlighting elements of the terms and conditions, which are kind of very prohibitive to things like sharing passwords, if you use a VPN and you're detected to use a VPN, we'll just turn you off as well. All of these things that, I can imagine that the Leicester cybersecurity sniffers, they have They have a crack group there ready, reverse, checking out what we're going on at each endpoint.
And listen, we get it. We understand. Piracy is terrible. Like, it's horrible. But guys, if you have a fucking second to just read through that terms and conditions for the Fox, it is entertaining to say the least. There's literally like a paragraph about not letting people look over your shoulder. So please read that if you get a chance. It's wonderful. Other than that, guys, I think we better wrap this thing up. We're at an hour and 10 minutes of our wonderful listeners' time. As always, guys, thank you for listening to the U.S. Foxes podcast. We had some amazing get-togethers around the country this week. Another great show out from the Rochester Foxes, Philly Foxes, New York Foxes, San Diego Foxes. We were rocking as well. And yeah, guys, as always, if you're getting together, use that hashtag US Foxes so we can point people your direction and hopefully make your get-togethers a little more populated as we spread the word of the greatest club in the world. With that being said, I, as always, am your host, Matt Folks, joined by my amazing co-hosts, Mr. Jason Becker, Jim Harris, and Chris Warner. And yeah, guys, let's keep it rolling. The Italian train just keeps cruising, and let's get 3 more points this week. Thank you for joining us on the US Foxes podcast, and we will see you next time. Peace.